All right, page 8. Surfaces in contact make friction. There we go. Okay, friction is contact force. That means it happens where surfaces touch each other. For example, when your shoes touch the sidewalk as you walk, the force of friction helps to propel you forward. No object is completely smooth. Even things that look smooth have bumps too small to see or feel. When two objects rub against each other, those bumps push against each other. Some surfaces are very rough. Rough surfaces produce a lot of friction when in contact with other objects. Other surfaces are smooth. Smooth surfaces produce less friction when in contact with another surface. Think about hurrying through different rooms wearing just socks and no shoes. You are less likely to slip on a carpeted surface than you are on a smooth floor. Feet in socks do not slip against rough material of carpet. Feet in socks slip and slide on a smooth floor. Now, think about the advantages and disadvantages of carpeting. Why would you want carpeting over tile floor? Is it easier to move a couch across a tile floor or a smooth floor? Why is it easier to move a couch? Is it easier to slip and fall and hurt yourself on a smooth floor or on a carpeted floor? So these are some things to think about considering your contact force. So contact force, a push or pull between two objects that are touching each other. Friction opposes motion and potential motion. Look at the picture of the block on the ramp. Are there forces at work there? This is the exercise we did just yesterday. Yes, there are. The force of gravity is pulling the block downward. However, the block does not move. That is because there is a friction force between the block and the ramp. The friction opposes the force of gravity. When the two forces are balanced, there's no change in the block's motion. In this way, friction opposes the potential motion of the block. So the block wants to slide, but because of the force of friction, it's keeping it stuck at the top of that ramp. Now, what would happen if you lift the ramp higher at one end? At some point, the force of gravity would overcome the force of friction. The forces will become unbalanced. Movement occurs as the block slides down the ramp. So like in our experiment the other day, when we had the ramp at a low angle, objects either didn't slide or slid very slowly. When we raised up the angle and had it much steeper, the object slid much faster. All right, page 10. Friction produces heat. Have you ever been outside in the cold and rub your hands together to try to warm them up? If so, you are making use of friction, just like we practiced earlier. Anytime two surfaces rub against each other, heat may occur. You can feel the heat produced by friction between moving your hands. The longer you rub them together, the harder you press them against each other, the warmer they will feel. If two surfaces only rub against each other briefly, the friction does not cause very much heat. Often the amount of heat produced is too little to notice. Do your socks feel warm after you slide across the floor? Sometimes friction can result in a great deal of heat. It is possible to rub string and wood together in a way that the friction can start a fire. So we talked about that earlier today as well. To start a fire using only string and wood, the friction must continue steadily for a long while. The friction must also be concentrated in a small area. Friction can be harmful as well. It can be useful to know how to start a fire using friction, but heat from friction is not always helpful. Engines, such as the ones that make cars and planes move, have many moving parts. The parts are in contact with each other, so they are affected by the force of friction. The friction results in heat. Over time, friction and heat weaken the parts of the machines. The parts can wear out and break. Like in a motor in a car, eventually it can wear out and break. So, engineers use materials called lubricants, like oil, to reduce friction between machine parts. A lubricant is a substance that coats the surfaces of parts that rub against each other to make them more slippery. Grease and oil are common lubricants. Lubricants help machine parts last longer. So vocabulary, lubricant. Noun, a substance that reduces friction between objects in contact. Think about water and air. Friction affects more than just solid objects. Feeling the wind blowing on your face is evidence that moving air produces friction. Air friction is called air resistance or drag. Athletes such as professional bikers and swimmers wear special uniforms to reduce the amount of drag they experience as they cross the finish line. So in the upcoming Olympics this year, you'll see runners and swimmers wearing very tight suits to eliminate air resistance and drag on their body.